Nimzo-Indian defense, classical, no variation, 5.cxd5 Qxd5 6.nf3 Qf5 7.qxf5. Balanced, neither player ever had an advantage. That game was pretty competitive. Both players had an amazing opening. It was an incredible middle game by both players. Both players had incredible precision in the end game. In the English opening, White plays c4 to take control of the d5 square without sacrificing a central piece. This is a more patient opening. Nf6 develops the knight toward the center and controls the e4 square. The conflict for the e4 square is started with nc3, which controls d5. The d5 square is supported by e6, which also permits the dark squared bishop to grow. In addition to controlling the e5 and c5 squares and giving the dark squared bishop room to grow, d4 takes up space in the center. This pins a knight to the king. qc2 defends the knight on c3 and continues the fight for the e4 square. As it moves into the center, d5 engages the c4 pawn in combat. cxd5 captures the d5 pawn and attacks the e6 pawn. Qxd5 captures the d5 pawn and places the queen in the center where it controls many important squares. Nf3 controls the e5 square, advances the knight toward the center, and helps the d4 pawn. Qf5 attacks the queen and offers a trade of queens. Qxf5 captures the queen and will double black's pawns. Takes back. It is the last book move. By growing a bishop from its initial square, this activates it. It is quite good. What I would have advised is that it is ideal. The bishop is prepared to grow into a functional square. It is quite good. Castling gets the king to a safer square, out of the center of the board, while also developing a rook. Castling kingside tends to be safer because the king is further from the center. It is good. This develops a bishop off its starting square, getting it into the action. It is best. That is a logical response. It is quite good. Now that the rooks can see one another, they can defend one another. It is ideal. As a result, the bishop may now control more squares because it is in a better position. It is quite good. That's a decent move. That's good. Not the finest, this. It is incorrect. Perfectly on point. It is ideal. This suggests exchanging items of equivalent value. That's good. It's alright. That's good. By doing this, a knight moves out of its beginning square and into the action. That's good. This exchange is fair. It is ideal. Recaptures. It is ideal. This provides an equal exchange of parts. It is quite good. The bishop is now in a secure position. It is ideal. The rook is now on an open file, which helps control squares across the board. This threatens to pin a knight. It is excellent. This strikes the opponent's bishop. That's good. Thus, a pawn is lost. It is incorrect. This is how you take the pawn. It is ideal. Backs off. It is ideal. That bishop was open for business. It is ideal. This places a rook on the 7th rank, activating the rook and restricting the opponent's king. This is the only move that works. It is a great move. This might indicate that a rook was attacked. It is ideal. On the file, the rooks are strategically doubled and forcefully combined. It is ideal. The bishop is now adequately defended. This is the only good move. It is a great move. While not a mistake, that is also not the wisest course of action. That's good. A pawn kicks the opposing knight, forcing it to move or risk being captured. It is ideal. The knight is now on a square that is more secure. It is ideal. This evades the check from the knight. This is the only move that works. It is a great move. Very precise. It is best. This steps away from the checking knight. This is the only good move. It is a great move. The rook is now on a square that is more secure. It is ideal. This defends a piece that is being attacked but is not well defended. It is ideal. This attacks a knight and gains a tempo when the knight retreats. That's good. This challenges the opposing rook for control of the open file. This is the only move that works. It is a great move. The rooks are linked by this, making it easier for them to work together in the future. It is ideal. It is a fair deal after all captures. It is ideal. Recaptures. It is ideal. This suggests exchanging items of equivalent value. It is ideal. This maintains the balance in material with a good trade. This is the only good move. It is best. Backs off. Black is equal at this point in the endgame. It is ideal. It was a free pawn there. It is ideal. This steps away from the checking rook. This is the only move that works. It is a great move. A pawn that was being attacked and had no defenses is now protected by this. It is ideal. The best choice is this one. It is ideal. What I would have advised is that. It is ideal. This shifts the bishop to a square with more activity, giving it greater scope. That's good. Perfectly on point. It is ideal. This reveals an attack that poses a threat to a rook. It is ideal. The rook is now in a safe position. It is ideal. Very precise. It is best. This provides an equal exchange of parts. That's good. The best choice is this one. It is ideal. This moves the checking pawn farther away. It is ideal. This exchange is fair. It is ideal. Recaptures. It is ideal. A rook enters the action after developing outside of its starting square as a result. It is ideal. This turns the pawn into a passed pawn, which means no other pawn may oppose it as it advances. It is ideal. After all captures, this is an equal trade. This is the only good move. It is a great move. Backs off. It is ideal. A wise decision. It is quite good. What I would have advised is that. It is ideal. Perfectly on point. It is ideal. Very precise. It is best. That pawn was available for free. It is ideal. The best choice is this one. It is ideal. Among the best actions. It is quite good. This requires an open file, a typical technique for rook activation. It is ideal. This moves the checking rook farther away. It is quite good. What I would have advised is that. It is ideal. A powerful play. It is quite good. That is a logical response. It is quite good. This poses the risk of producing a passed pawn. It is ideal. This keeps the material balance in check with good commerce. This prevents the adversary from building a passed pawn. It is ideal. Recaptures. It is ideal. Perfectly on point. It is ideal. A wise decision. It is quite good. Among the best actions. It is quite good. This exchange is fair. It is quite good. Very precise. It is best. The best choice is this one. It is ideal. A powerful play. It is quite good. What I would have advised is that. It is ideal. Perfectly on point. It is ideal. This avoids the rook's check. It is ideal. It is a fair deal after all captures. It is quite good. Backs off. It is ideal. Very precise. It is best. The pawn is now on a square that is safer. It is ideal. The best choice is this one. It is ideal. That is a logical response. It is quite good. A wise decision. It is quite good. This avoids the rook's check. It is ideal. Among the best actions. It is quite good. What I would have advised is that. It is ideal. Perfectly on point. It is ideal. A powerful play. It is quite good. Very precise. It is best. That is a logical response. It is quite good. A wise decision. It is quite good. Among the best actions. It is quite good. The best choice is this one. It is ideal. A powerful play. It is quite good. What I would have advised is that. It is ideal. Perfectly on point. It is ideal. That is a logical response. It is quite good. This avoids the rook's check. It is quite good. A wise decision. It is quite good. Among the best actions. It is quite good. Very precise. It is best. The best choice is this one. It is ideal. This secures a pawn. It is ideal. This avoids the rook's check. It is ideal. What I would have advised is that. It is ideal. This moves the checking rook farther away. It is ideal. Perfectly on point. It is ideal. This moves the checking rook farther away. It is ideal. Very precise. It is best. This avoids the rook's check. It is ideal. This is the strongest option. It is best. Balanced. Neither player ever had an advantage. That game was pretty competitive. Both players had an amazing opening. It was an incredible middle game by both players. Both players had incredible precision in the end game.